Welcome to Facets of Affinity, your one-stop destination for all things love, engagement and weddings, sprinkled with a generous dose of sparkle. I'm your host, Irene, and I'm absolutely thrilled to be your guide on this fabulous journey. Join us as we explore the art of popping the question, the joy of saying I do, and everything in between. Welcome to Facets of Affinity. Welcome back to another episode of Facets of Affinity. Today we have Diane Khoury here joining us.
Hi.
Hello, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm
such a pleasure
excited.
to meet you.
Thank you. Thanks
Very
so much.
exciting. Let's start by chatting a little bit about how long have you been doing all of the wonderful things that you do? Wedding planning, or what do you call yourself?
Well, people know us as weddings because we do really beautiful, extravagant, luxurious weddings. But
do.
You know, it's not just about that for me, my team. It's about we do all sorts of events. Like we do all mainly private events,
yep.
Personal events, whether it's weddings, christenings, birthdays, but we also do corporate stuff. So I just say I love to put on a party.
Event plan.
Yeah, event planning, putting on a party, creating, experiences. It's not just about, great music and, a few balloons or flowers. For me, it's all about creating experiences, creating memories, I guess.
Yes.
That's what, I love doing. I've been doing it for so long.
How long?
Oh my goodness. I think I've just hit over 13 years. It's crazy. I actually can't believe it. It's been a roller coaster ride.
Sorry to cut you off, but how did it start?
It started by accident. It's crazy. It really did. And, I think now, as I'm getting older, I think I'm starting to go, wow, like what a journey. It's been 13 years, because when you're working hard and you're building a business that happened by accident, you're actually just, your head's down and you're literally grinding. I feel like for the last, probably the first 10 years, I don't think I actually put my head up and actually took it all in. I think I was just working so hard, so passionately, so invested in every single client, and every single client has their own story, that I was, everyone's like, you have developed this empire, this brand, you're amazing, you're great. But I didn't know that during the process. I was just focused on each event, and I'm so passionate, and I've come out now. In the last 3 years, I'd say I've started to go, wow, look where I've come. And it's not just from a business point of view, it's from when you're building a business with no one telling you. I didn't have a manager, I didn't have a business mentor that said to me, this is what you're going to do, you're going to do this, and in year 2 this is going to happen. It just happened organically. And I fell along the way, I realized things along the way, and I had to pick myself up. I had to be my own motivator in the industry. And doing that, running a business is one thing, but as a woman, having a family, there were times where I started to, in the first 3 years, my business started to pivot, and then I felt pregnant. Didn't happen when I wanted it to happen 5 years before that. So that was very unplanned, and I was like, can I take it on all? Can I let this business grow, have children? And I just did it all without knowing. And I think, that's something I celebrate now. I just celebrate not just the business growth. I think the growth as growing a business, raising a family. I've got 3 kids now since then, which I didn't have when I started. Yeah, beautiful. And having family around me, and having a team, growing my team, starting off on my own, coming with a team. That's all stuff to be celebrated, to be proud of. And I think that's where I've come out now, gone, wow, it's been 13 years. But those 13 years have not just come so easily. It's been a roller coaster. It's been a journey. There's been setbacks. It's been learning experiences. I've stuffed up so many times. But when I've stuffed up, I think we spoke about this before we came on, like when you make a mistake with a client, it's always been those mistakes where you really didn't mean to do it, and people know your heart's in the right place, and you learn to pivot through it and go through it. And I think that's what I'm so proud of. I was very like, I have to do everything myself. I have to be there. If I'm not with the client holding their hand and with them to the end of the night, they're going to think I don't care. And you start to become confident in the fact of surrounding yourself with a great team, empowering others, letting clients know that you have also people that work for you with the same mindset. And I think that's allowed me by empowering my suppliers, empowering my team, it's allowed me to sit back now and go, you know what, we are actually amazing at what we do, and we have the best people, and I have the best people, and I love creating memories and experiences. And you know, after all these years, when you've got clients that you started with 13 years and now you're doing their kids events, and
yeah, I was going to ask about that. Yeah,
that's where for me, that's something that I am so proud of, and I don't take that lightly. So yes, I make money, but for me it's more than that. I do it doing something that I love, and I'm so invested in making people happy. I think that brings me so much joy.
That must be one of the best parts, when the bride and groom walk into their reception for the first time and see it all like in real life. That must be pretty amazing to watch that.
Like, you work so hard, you talk to them. These people sometimes, like, these people haven't been married before. It's their first wedding. Some girls have been dreaming about this since they were little, some not. Everyone's different. Every person that walks in is different.
It's a different story, yeah.
But so for me, it's more about like the fact that they've come to us and they've trusted us with something that's so personal.
Yeah.
It's hard when you're talking to them every day or every few weeks through email to let them see that you can see the vision, you know what's coming. Yeah. How do you translate that to a person that is so emotional about that day? And I feel like for me, when they see the outcome, it's like, wow. Like for them, it's like you've just unpeeled that onion and everything's just, you know, come to show, and all the hard work. And so I just love the reaction, not just of the couple, the groom who had no idea most of the time.
Most of the time it's a big surprise for them.
Wow, we spent a lot of money. No, you know, and it's just seeing his reaction, the family, the cultures. It's that reaction, but it's also the reaction of sometimes the year later when I find out I just found out one of my clients from a year ago was pregnant, and I found out through someone else, and just calling them, and like, I actually care. And I'm like, you're pregnant, and then I just think about, oh my God, what are we going to do? Are we doing a baby shower? Are we doing, what are we doing? Or it's your dad's 60th, are we going to celebrate? Like, and for me, it's not just about getting that business. I actually love being, like, I love to put on, you get to know the family, and for me, it's like, how can we make this special for you guys? How can we be part of it? So I feel like I'm an extension of their family, and I'm really about that. And I think that's what makes a business grow. And I think I spoke to Sam when he took me through the place, and I think 20 years in business, that doesn't happen easily. You can't last long in business without building relationships. Relationships is key, and I think that's what's allowed me to be fortunate and lucky enough, and I feel blessed to last 15 years and still going, is that's nurturing relationships, and that's what it comes down to, and I'm so proud of that.
Yeah, and you should be so proud of that. It is amazing.
Yeah.
And does that often happen where you'll start working with the client because it is a wedding, but then it becomes their children's christenings and future family milestones?
Family milestones, and it's like, oh, we're having, you know, a family, you know, we've had our business and it's been there for 20 years, it's a corporate event, can you come on board and help us with, you understand us. For us, it's about, you understand us, you understand our dynamics. Nurturing relationships doesn't happen overnight. We have to get to know these clients, we have to get to know who they are they culturally invested, do they have traditions, what do they do for business, is that very much part of what they do? And then whether it's a personal event or a corporate event, that's when we understand how we throw ourselves in there and make it happen. Our job is to take the pressure off the client.
Yes.
And bring everything together so they feel like guests at their own event, whether it's a wedding, a birthday, a milestone. It doesn't matter how big or small. For me, it's more about they want us to be there, and we're there, and we just make it happen.
And how does that process often start? Obviously, with someone reaching out to you, I'm assuming you meet with them, and do they often come in with a vision or an idea of what they want the day to look like, or do people kind of say, you're amazing, I know I want you, I trust you, and then it's up to you to present ideas? How does it normally flow?
That's a good question, and I think it's a good question because for people starting out, I think the perception on social media is, oh, she's just, you know, I've had so many people say this, it comes back where they say things like, she's so lucky, she just gets clients that have big budgets. That doesn't happen, or people don't just listen to your advice straight away. You don't just walk into a shop and just listen to something, that dress looks great on you. That takes years to build relationships. So initially, probably in my first 3 to 5 years, I had to prove to people. So I did have to have face-to-face. I did have to show them my work. I did have to sell. I had to work hard to convince that client that I know what I'm doing.
Yes.
That doesn't happen just straight away. So yes, the first 5 years, it was more about selling, proving myself, sometimes having to drop my price, sometimes have to take things on, do extra stuff to prove myself.
Yeah.
Then when I built the brand, and branding comes from all that hard work, from, you know, people trusting the brand, seeing the results. You know, if you're going to say you're going to deliver, you have to deliver. You can't just talk about being great. You actually have to show the results. So that took about the first 5 years to build that. And then once you build that, word of mouth before social media. Word of mouth is everything. So word of mouth is what got me over the line. And then eventually through word of mouth, through building my brand, now, honestly, so many people don't come and do a face-to-face. We want DK. We've been following you guys. You guys consistently deliver amazing events. We've heard you guys are amazing to deal with. So I don't have to be selling as much, you know. Now it's like, we've been following you. I can't think of anyone else. Can we have a consult? Sometimes it's just a Zoom call or a consult call, and it's like, and they'll book us in without meeting them. And for me, that consult call isn't to tell them how amazing I am.
No.
The consult call is to understand them. What's important to you? You know, just because the wedding that I did last week or the christening was crazy amazing. You know, some weddings are extravagant. People spend hundreds of thousands of dollars. Does not mean the person that's on the phone tomorrow is that person that wants that. So I can't have a chip on my shoulder and think that, you know, just because I do these, that everyone has the same requirements. So for me, it's really important to listen, still up to now, have a conversation, and let's connect. Do you connect with me? Regardless of what my portfolio shows, I'm not here to tell you how great I am. I'm here to listen to you, connect with you. Do you feel bonded to me? It's so important. And I say this to everyone. I say, guys, it doesn't matter how much someone tells you I'm amazing. Do you feel connected? Because you're going to get into bed with me and my team for the next year. And I want you to feel comfortable. So that's how, you know, we bring clients. That's my process. Up until now, it's even if people say, yes, we want to book you, we heard you're amazing, your Instagram or your website shows that. For me, it's about connecting and about them feeling comfortable with us. And that's when we bring them over. But we don't sit there and I don't have to do as much face-to-face as I used to. We do if they want it. There's no right and wrong. It's really what works.
Do you think that social media has played a role in that, in the sense of so much is visible to so many people so quickly? Like, everybody knows how amazing your work is. They can see it. Do you think that that's changed things in the industry 100%. In the time you've been doing it?
Over 30, when I first started, social media was at its infant stage. It wasn't a thing. Like, it was like...
I was getting married, so I know. 2011 was like, it sort of was just happening. No one knew who your dress was. No one knew who did your hair.
You have to get a magazine. You have to get, you have to buy brides-to-be married with luxury wedding. Whereas it's just the dynamics have changed. And that's how my business grew, by word of mouth, the old school way, people meeting face-to-face, people looking through magazines. So I built my business on that, but then I jumped on that bandwagon of opening an Instagram and Facebook account. But it was even Facebook back then. And I showcased myself through social media. So people followed me back then and got to understand my style, my journey, just through what I decided to show people. Whether it didn't even have to be an event. When I had no jobs in the beginning, I didn't have all this work. So it could have been I stayed at, you know, an amazing hotel and I just loved the display of flowers, or I loved the marble and the detail. I would showcase that to my clients, and obviously people that connected with me started following, and eventually it built a rapport. It was like, I like her, she's organic. Naturally, I didn't buy my followers.
And they got a feel of what
you like. And they got a feel of what I like. And that's how I did it. And of course, social media helped, because you showcase not just to my church community or the local community, it's showcasing on an international platform. It's amazing. I'm so grateful for social media, but it's also can be very detrimental. I think so. I think social media, you know, people, you know, it's become very competitive. it's become very confusing. If I was a bride right now, and that's what we're finding,
Yeah.
people are confused.
Yeah.
Too much information.
Mm.
There's too much to choose from, too much variety, too much trends. What happened on, if I post something today, the next person's like, well, that's old news. What are you going to do differently? Like, we're running out of ideas. And no one's ever going to post anything that doesn't look great. It's a one moment, it's a snippet of the perfect moment of an event.
Yes.
So I'm not going to post the crap that happens. I'm not going to post, if there was an ugly war on that end, no one's going to showcase that.
Yeah.
So the problem is there are so many people on social media that, are good at taking photos, good at, using AI to change things. And if I'm a client, how do you know who's great at their job or who's just taken a good photo? Because there are so many layers behind a great photo. It's about moments, it's about experience, it's about, you can't lose the fact of making sure things, when it's an event, I always say to clients, don't get caught up in the aesthetics. We can make anything look great.
Yeah.
We're great at that. But you need to think about the fact there are actually humans going to walk through that door.
Yeah.
We need to create experiences. We need to make sure things are practical. We need to create atmosphere. And sometimes Instagram doesn't show that, and it's so misleading. So I think that's the thing as a customer now. It's trying to sift through all of that, trying to understand, trying to not. There's just too much information.
Yeah, I completely agree with you.
It's confusing.
And you said before about how sometimes maybe things don't go according to plan or don't look exactly as they should. Are there any specific moments that you can think of where maybe something didn't go quite right, but you managed to handle that situation that you'd like to share with us?
Oh my God, there's so many times that go wrong. There's so many stories, so many, but things never go right. I think when you're in this industry that we are in, and I must say, builders think they're amazing and they're so great and they build these amazing homes. I always say to them, I challenge you, if it rains, if your plumber decides to not rock up that day, they're notorious for that. You just, we'll just delay the job a week.
Yeah.
They can move that line in the sand. We as planners can't. We've got to be ready by 5 p.m. If a supplier decides to pull out, if something goes wrong in the ceiling and we've now lost 2 hours,
You're not pushing the wedding.
we can't push the wedding out. I can't say, sweetheart, come back next week and get married. So organisation, production, logistics, knowing what you're doing, knowing how to be if things, be a solution person on the go and deal with pressure.
Yeah.
We deal with so much pressure, and lately in the last few years we're sharing a lot more BTSs, and people like to say, I love seeing your BTSs because I didn't realise this is what you guys do. I didn't realise the grind behind. So there is so much that goes wrong. Wet weather is a huge one. We had a wedding many years ago at Hamilton Island, and it was the ceremony was at Whitehaven Beach.
Oh, wow.
And it's such a sacred place, and I can understand now why so many people wouldn't bring flowers there, and that was a very simple, just get married on Whitehaven Beach. But no, Diane Khoury always wants to break boundaries and be the first. No, we can do it. I had a couple from Melbourne wanted to do a ceremony on Whitehaven Beach with their guests, have a floral arch, do all of that. I'm like, yes, we can do it. So that day happened, the tide changed, and I will never forget, to get to Whitehaven Beach, I was helicoptering back and forth from Qualia to go see how the suppliers are going, and we had the guests coming through on a boat to come to Whitehaven Beach. But because obviously I needed to check that everything was set up, I had this helicopter back and forth, taking me back and forth between Qualia and the setup to see how we're going. I'm on this helicopter, and I can see that this arch is in the sand, it's ready to go, and all I can see is this tide come in. Literally, I can see my staff and the florist getting hit with water, and this arch is I actually wanted to jump out. I wanted to vomit. I wanted to jump out of this helicopter and say, I'm like, oh my God, these guests are on the boat. This arch is about to topple over.
I mean, it's funny.
The guy that gave us the tide and the direction gave us the wrong tide, so we set it in too close to the water. So the tide came in. oh my God, I actually felt it was the end of my career.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know, like as a planner, you think you're gonna like literally be superwoman and fly out and save the day. That's how I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I was like to the guy, land this helicopter, this is really bad. We have guests coming, and I'll never forget, he landed the helicopter and I was like running, I had tears in my eyes. I'm like, this is the end of me.
Yeah.
And we literally, honestly, in 10 minutes, we moved. I helped the team, and we just like had to move everything
As far back as possible.
The boat coming in, I'm telling you, we're radioing the people on the boat to like just slow it down. But it's just little things like that where I learned the biggest lesson about when you're in environments like that, which rely on weather, tide, like know your boundaries. It was like, as much as I thought I did my research, it taught me the biggest lesson. We ended up, it all worked out. The client knew no different, but honestly, in that moment, I honestly was about to chuck myself out of a helicopter. Yeah. I'm that passionate. So that was really hilarious. There's a lot of moments like that happen where things you just have to like literally forget the stress and get on with it. Problem solve.
And obviously.
And draw people. You have to lead a team. You have to motivate. Like sometimes things go so, I'm like, oh my God, that is so bad. But we're going to do this, guys. Yeah. We've got one out. And I'm the leader of the pack. So if I crumble, everyone crumbles around me. So a lot of the times I have to go to the bathroom, probably vomit. People don't know that. Like probably like, especially some of the times when I had children and I had like an event 3 weeks later. Yeah. And I thought, at the time I'm superwoman, I can do anything. Yeah, I'll be right, I'll go to the event. And my hormones are through the roof, so probably something I wouldn't cry about for some reason.
Would have tipped you over the edge.
There's moments where I'm in that bathroom like, oh my God, the ceiling is so bad. And then I'm freaking out, I'm crying, and then I walk out, I'm like, guys, we're going to get this done. We're going to fix it.
Because they're all looking to you.
Yeah, she's so strong. Meanwhile, they have no idea. I was like falling apart. I've had those moments. And it's taught me a lot. Sometimes they're little, sometimes they're huge, but we get through it. And I think, those mistakes, those learning lessons, and not being afraid to push boundaries. I'm the girl that if, you tell me you can't do something at Hayman Island and they haven't done a luxury wedding here or it's so remote, I'm like, no, we're going to do it and we're going to find a way. And I think that's what's made me, come out where I am now, is because I am willing to push boundaries. I don't want to work in the same boring week in, week out. Anything that's easy, I'm like, oh, someone else can do that. I want something new. I want something challenging. And that's why, we've been able to do the events we do.
Do you often work with clients to help them find a venue, or do most of them have a venue locked in before they come to you? Like, what sort of happens?
We have different. So we have people that come to us that have no idea, especially when it's like, I want to get married in Queensland, I want a remote, like I want something quite private and stay. And we we curate portfolios together. It could even be, I want to get married in Sydney, I have 300 people, I have no idea. So we actually sit and we work through what's important to them. We go through a criteria with them, understanding them. So we definitely do that. We did that in Italy for the wedding we did last year. I was about to ask
you if you've done overseas. So you do work on weddings overseas?
Yeah, of course, we do. Like for all over the world, I will. For the right client, for people that, follow us, we get a lot of requests. But for me, with such a young family, it's got to work. And with the business that I've got here, we definitely do it. Yeah. And I love it.
I guess you never want an event to look the same as the last event. How do you stay on trend, but make sure an event maybe stands out or there's some sort of point of difference in that event?
It's tricky.
Yeah.
It's another good question. Especially in places like in Sydney, we're not as fortunate as like in Italy, where you have these amazing landscapes and venues that are outdoor and
predictable weather, or more predictable weather.
So where they already tell a story in itself, we most of the time have to be in a ballroom. Yeah. And if you're at the Crown, which sometimes in 1 year we're there like 6 times or 7 times for the. How do you make the same place look different? How do you create something different?
Exactly.
And so that is definitely a huge challenge. I think again to look at trends, especially in the event industry, especially now more than ever, I look at experiences. I look at creating moments, not just the look and feel. I spoke about this and I always talk about this. It's the little things, personalizing events, listening to the client, every time a person comes in front of you, there's a point of difference. That's the point of difference.
Yeah.
It's their story that's different.
Yeah.
And it's listening to their story and not thinking that you can just grab the DNA of what you did the week before and apply it to that. Yes, the processes, obviously the processes of planning an event, that all needs to be there, the structure. But when it comes to the fluff and the pretty things and the nice to have and the flair and the feeling you give people, that comes from the couple.
Yeah.
That comes from connecting with them, not just worrying about, having 5 million flowers in the room, although that's what it looks like on Instagram. It's adding the flair.
Yeah.
It's how do you add the flair, and I really believe that's in the storytelling, and then bringing the vision out. And I think just pushing boundaries again. I've been having meetings lately with restaurant owners and, and people that don't usually would use their spaces for weddings. And I'm like, guys, this is an amazing restaurant. You make the best cuisine, the best cocktails.
Yeah.
Can we do a buyout of your place, and can we use, Amare, or can we use Felix, or can we use, places where people love the experience of food and beverages, and then using that to host an event. Thinking a little bit outside the square is really important.
Yeah.
Looking at trends outside of the wedding industry, looking at what are these designer brands doing? What are the shop fronts looking like? What's happening with jewelry? What's happening with entertainment, the world? Looking outside just the event world and looking at other areas. I take inspo from that.
Yeah.
And try and
really
invest
cool.
that into my events, and ultimately it comes back to the couple. It's understanding them. You can't have a lot of people love Sydney Town Hall. I did a really amazing wedding. It was very grand and royal. I can't just think every person that sits in front of me is a grand and royal person and think that I'm going to create you the most amazing event. I have to listen to that people, see what their personality's like, and that will then help me create trends for them.
Yeah.
That makes it personal. That's I guess what keeps me going. And looking outside of Australia, of course.
Yeah. Looking at what the rest of the world is doing and trying to bring it here, I guess.
Trying to bring it here.
Yeah.
But also where, people used to think you had to go overseas to have the most amazing wedding. One thing we've done is, really stamped events in Australia.
Recreate,
Showing people we are good at what we've got talent here. We have the most amazing creatives. You don't need to go to Italy just to have an amazing wedding.
Yes.
We have great suppliers here. We have great entertainment. We have great F&B. You just need to tap into the right people and let them create that for you. Yeah.
It's fantastic. You sound so passionate about everything you do, Diane.
Too passionate.
I know, it's great. I love how much you want to get to know your couples or your families. Building that relationship with them is really what molds the day. So that's so important.
Of course.
Thank you for chatting with us
Thank you
today.
for having me.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us for today's episode of Facets of Affinity. We hope you'll join us in our future episodes where we delve deeper into all things love, engagement, and weddings, sprinkled with a generous dose of sparkle.